Welcome to Hard Talk with me, Zeinab Badawi. For nearly 3 decades, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia has been locked in a bitter dispute with neighbouring Greece over its name. There's a Greek province called Macedonia. Well, last month, the two countries signed a historic accord to change the name of this small Balkan state to the Republic of North Macedonia, subject to a referendum. The agreement paves the way for Macedonia to join the European Union and NATO. This would be a welcome step for a country that is one of the poorest in Europe. But challenges from nationalist hardliners, the opposition and the president signal stormy times ahead for the social democratic government. My guest is the Prime Minister Zoran Zaev. Does he have what it takes to change hearts and mind and set his country on a path of greater prosperity? Prime Minister Zoran Zaev, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have said that you will resign if the name change is not approved in the referendum this autumn. Why is it a resigning matter for you?
It's important to encourage our citizens to reach this turnout of 50% for the referendum, because it's a historical momentum for us. Finally, after 27 years of our independence, we must decide what kind of future we hope, and we will support it, that kind of future. I believe that more than 70% of our citizens will be in favor.
Are you sure of that?
Yes, I'm very sure.
How can you be? The vote's not happened yet.
For example, polls show that more than 75% of our citizens are in favor of NATO and European Union. More than 70% of our citizens believe that this question should have been solved later on, or now is good moment, or more than 75% will go for a referendum and vote.
It's in your nature, of course, to be optimistic because you are backing this change. But when you look at what happened in the elections in 2016, the now opposition VMRO got actually more votes than you did, and they are opposed to this change. They say it's unconstitutional and illegal. That is going to present you with a major headache, isn't it?
They blame us that we do unconstitutional, unlegal signing agreement with Greece. In the moment, that is the theory, what they have it, but this is agreement. There is my signature or the signature of our Minister of Foreign Affairs, but there will be referendum, institutions will vote after that for constitutional change, and there is a process after that. Greece will ratify in the parliament, and then the agreement will be acting.
That's what you hope. You've got to a long way before you get there. President Ivanov is refusing to sign the agreement into law, even if it's approved in a referendum, and he, of course, is from the opposition VMRO right of centre party.
He invites some new rule like pocket veto. It's not useful in our constitution, because after the first refuse to sign the agreement after voting of the parliament need to vote again. And now it's happened to refuse for the second time to sign the agreement, because with the agreement, signing the law for ratification of agreement means the acting of the agreement and prepare referendum. But this...
and the referendum is due to take place this autumn?
Yes, this autumn. We plan end of September, beginning of October. We'll decide together in the parliament, all of us.
But you know, the issue, of course, is one that arouses tremendous passions, not only in Parliament, but also in the country. And nationalists have accused you of being a traitor, and your government. Traitors, traitors, we're seeing the protests in the street. Last year, before you became a Prime Minister, you were attacked by a nationalist mob.
I have my scars.
You still have the scars
in
there?
My face.
Well, there you are. You see, you're a physical embodiment of the kind of passions that are involved.
It's past 1 year. After that, really, our country changed a lot from this momentum. Yes, now there is opponents of this agreement. They blame me that I am traitor, that I trade our, I don't know, name, our history, our identity, that kind of things. I'm very happy that finally we have covered our identity issue. The part of the agreement is Macedonian language. I'm Macedonian. There is a Macedonian ethnicity, etc., etc. In very careful way, we recognize each other identity, but also it's a fact that we are northern part of this historical Macedonia, because there is a southern part in Greece, eastern part in Bulgaria, and western part in Albania. It's a fair enough agreement, and I think that preserve our good future and bring us finally this strategic goal for us, NATO and the European Union.
But you must be worried about your own safety. I mean, you know, after what happened to you last year, before you became Prime Minister in June, I mean, you get the comments, you know, for example, not related to the violence, but Vladimir Kavadarkov, who's a retired lawyer, has accused your government of destroying Macedonian self-confidence, dignity, sovereignty, and identity. They see you as a sellout.
Stucking in mud all these 27 years will destroy our dignity. There is a lot of frustration because of that. It's happened so much political crisis in our country. Now we will sitting together with Great Britain, with United States, with Germany in NATO alliance. We have our place. Our flag will be there. So we will be equal with the powerful countries in the world. But I don't afraid about my future, not in even my body, but also not even the political future. It's a sensitive question. It's a really painful question, but it's good preserving good future for my citizens and the young generation when they come.
So you're not scared for your own safety? I mean, what happened? How did you feel last April when you were attacked by the mob, as you say? I can see the scars on you.
We was 2.5 hours without police. That was the day when we chose the president of the parliament. That is the house of democracy in every democratic country. And there was a lot of violence. So
that was Talat
patriotic
Jaferi,
situation. Yes.
who's an ethnic Albanian.
Yes.
There was opposition from the
Mr.
nationalists.
Talat Jaferi, ex-minister of defense of this country, a long period MP in the parliament, was chosen for the president of the parliament. And the parliamentarian government in that moment opened the doors from the parliament from inside and put that so-called patriotic organization to attack us without assistance of the police. We was there 2.5 hours, but strength fighting for freedom, for democracy, and for good future of this country.
But you know, the nationalists really do present you, Prime Minister, with a huge challenge in your country, in Macedonia. I mean, for example, you have removed some statues of Alexander the Great, and that has upset many people in your country. I mean, how far are you going to go with removing monuments to Alexander the Great, who's so important, of course, to this whole debate?
We remove only one monument. It's not Alexander the Great monument, but we remove names of our names of our highway and names of our national airport.
You've changed them.
Yes, the new name of the highway, it's a friendship. It's a highway between Serbia and Greece through our country. It's a friendship, and the new name of our airport is National Airport Skopje.
How far will you go? Will you take down the statue of Alexander the Great in the capital, Skopje?
No, for sure, no.
For sure you won't?
Yes, it's needed money to do that. We need money for building something new, not to destroy though.
Because the opposition party has said, we will rebuild any monuments your marionette, as they say, government would remove. They're going to undo all that, perhaps change the name back of the airport.
Until now, only one monument, because there was not permit for building. It's a matter of taste who have what kind of monuments, but everything must be by the law. Only one monument in front of the basis court in Skopje, criminal court in Skopje, was without permits, and we remove it because it's municipality remove it really, because it's a monument without permits.
I mean, a lot of this debate about the name of what is known at the United Nations, the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, because of Alexander the Great. And the Greeks, of course, have got their province of Macedonia, and they're saying Alexander the Great was born in what is now Greek territory, Macedonia, and we don't want you to, you know, have a claim to the name and so on. It strikes a lot of people as perhaps, you know, quite surprising that this 4th century BC figure could be stoking such passions.
The history was the reason why we were stuck in this period of 27 years without our further improvement like society, globally, generally speaking. Finally, learning from the past, we decide to be more focused for the future. It's too much history. Let's leave it history to the historian guys. They will debate for everything. We are leaders and we need to preserve the future of our countries. Can you mention it? We are neighbor countries and we have problem since our independence that stop our citizens to cooperate. But even in that occasion, we have more than 1 million visiting in Greece, for example. We are 2 million citizens, more than 1 million visiting per year in Greece. But there is so much opportunity in front of us. So we do that mostly to improve the relations between us and our south neighbor Greece, but also for our integration process to be finally a member of NATO and part of the European Union.
Sure. We've talked about the opposition in your own country, but there's also opposition in Greece to this proposed name change that you should become the Republic of North Macedonia. The Conservative opposition leader, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, says it is not a good deal because the Greek government has ceded to the neighbouring country something that no previous Greek government has agreed to, a Macedonian ethnicity and a Macedonian language. It is an unacceptable national concession.
You know, it's a reaction of the opposition from the both countries are copy-paste, completely the same. That is one guarantee that we have fair enough agreement. There was some kind of red lines, for example, to have a new name, to be with geographical determination, and to be for erga omnes use for all issues, internationally or domestic. Now it's appeared this identity reaction from the opposition of Greek, but I try to inform, to encourage Mr. Mitsotakis, who is the leader of the opposition in Greece, that we separate our identity issue. There is a Hellenic or Greek Macedonians and our Macedonians. We separate culture, we separate history, of course, and we do that in very fruitful way. But also in a positive way, how to build relations and cooperation in the future.
Did Mr. Mitsotakis say anything to you? Was he reassured by what you just said to him?
No,
he wasn't, was
in a careful way I want to invite him to be really positive, to give a chance to this agreement, and there will be only benefits for
because he has said, I have well-founded suspicions that under a different government in Skopje, not the present one, you're seen as progressive, which appears to have a more moderate profile, a discussion could possibly re-emerge on the issue of a Greater Macedonia. So it's not what you do, it's what successive governments might do if they're not as moderate as you.
We are small.
Greater Macedonia, all this division that you say in the southern part is different and, you know, and so on, that may all just go.
Alexander the Great have great Macedonia. We have our Macedonia, and we want to build a friendship with Greece. We doesn't have territorial aspiration. Of course, we keep the borders, we protect the borders, we confirm the heritage of the Greek citizens and Greek Macedonians also. We have only one aspiration, which is some kind territorial, to be in the beautiful beach in Greece, in beautiful island in Greece. We doesn't have sea, only to support tourism in Greece, to build a friendship really between our two countries.
It's possible, isn't it, given the, not just from the parliamentary opposition leader Mitsotakis, but also in the country, there are nationalists also who are not happy with this, and so it's not necessarily a done deal in Greece either. You must be worried about that.
It's minority. Because of that, we go in the referendum, mainly to have a most democratic.
In Greece, you must be worried about the nationalist opposition in Greece, not just the parliamentary opposition of Mitsotakis.
I'm worried about that. Because of that, I talk very honestly to encourage also them to give a chance, because there is not big majority in the parliament in Greece who will vote after our referendum, after our constitutional change. It remains only the Greek parliament to vote. I'm worried about that, but of course I believe that both sides will fulfill the taken responsibilities.
If all this happened, do you think that, given that 137 countries currently recognise your country, known at the UN as the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, but they just simply refer to as the Republic of Macedonia, do you think that if you become the Republic of North Macedonia, that people would just drop the North and just call you the Republic of Macedonia or just Macedonia?
Our official name will be Republic of North Macedonia. We will even send a letter to all countries, all 193 members of United Nations, that there is agreement between us and Greece, and the new name for international use will be Republic of North Macedonia. After that, with every chapter of European Union, we will involved in internal domestic use also. who cares after that, you know? Somebody called North Macedonia or South Macedonia. Okay, officially we will be North Macedonia. Everything what will be state and official related with the new name, it's a part of the agreement. We will confirm completely of that. Everything what is connected with our Macedonian identity will be in line of our identity. So the Greek side get erga omnes name, we get erga omnes identity. So it's good, fair enough for the both sides, and I think that will only strengthen the friendship between two countries.
All right. I mean, all these discussions about your cultural identity, your name and so on feed also into the wider issue of identity in your country, in Macedonia. And you've been attending this summit of the West Balkans here in London to discuss the various ethnic tensions, amongst other things, that exist in your region. You've got an ethnic Albanian population of about 22% of your 2 million people, and there are tensions, aren't there, again, between you and the nationalist opposition?
We have conflict between Macedonians and Albanians in 2001. It's a big conflict in front of war, even civil war in the society. We passed through this conflict, and now really a lot of things happen from that. But right nationalistic-oriented government, what ruled our country 11 years before my mandate,
it's make the VMRO, which was in power for 11
make
years,
a huge damage to the country, especially in that matter, because we are multi-ethnical country. We are Balkan in micro picture, because we have, beside Macedonians, we have 22% Albanians, Turkish population, Serbs, Romans, Vlachs, Bosniaks. We are multi-ethnical country. In the moment, we built a concept, one society for all. It's a very pleasant concept to have all same rights and same obligation for all citizens in front of institution. But our president doesn't agree with that.
Yes, President Ivanov is opposed to the law in March that your government wanted to present, making the official use of the Albanian language wider. At the moment, it can only be used if there's a part of Macedonia which has got around 20% of Albanians. You want to make it a national language, for example, it could be used in parliament and so on, and he's saying, no, I don't like that, I'm not going to sign this bill.
He really, it's with the right orientation, and I believe his feelings to not recognize that we must guarantee the future of this multi-ethnical society, and he lose the chance what he have it, because by the constitution, what was changed after the conflict of 2001, there is right also for minorities to use own language. And now we give constitutional right to our minorities, not only for Albanians, but also for Romans, for Turks, for Serbs, for everything. We vote in the parliament with 68 votes, for example.
That's quite narrow out of 120. It's not a resounding majority, is it? It shows you the strength of opposition to this move, because they feel it makes too many concessions to the ethnic Albanian minority.
Yes, okay, it's a democratic debate inside of the country, we believe, but it's a majority voting. And he refused to sign the law, and that frustrates our citizens from Albanian nationality and other minorities also. But we hope that our lawyers in the country will find solution how to put this blockage from the president to the parliament. Because we ask ourselves, if the president decides a next 107 law to block, what will be the function of the parliament, for example, in one parliamentarian democracy?
So all these things that your government is doing, you've just been in power since June last year, you know, enhancing minority rights, the name change and so on. As Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO, told you in June, without the finalisation of the name agreement, your country cannot join NATO in the foreseeable future. This is a historic opportunity that cannot be missed. You agree with all that. So can you start the talks to join NATO at the coming summit in Brussels, or are they saying, let's wait until you've gone through all these hoops that we've been discussing on the name change?
After this interview, after a few days, I will receive, in the name of my country, the invitation for full membership of NATO in Brussels. There will be NATO summit. Having that in mind, there is a process very equal like other countries, like Montenegro, for example. It's the last member country of NATO. They became a member of NATO in 2015. After the invitation, we start accession talks there. accession talks it's in plan to finish in January 2019. Until then, we plan to finish also referendum, constitutional change, and voting in Greek parliament. After this, we start ratification in the member countries' parliaments.
Okay, so and you start your EU accession talks in 2019. But part of the requirements of the joining the EU is that you've got a lot of things to do in your country. You've got to tackle corruption and patronage. The EU said in November 2016 that FYR Macedonia was a victim of state capture under the former Prime Minister Nikola Gruevski, who was recently sentenced to 2 years in prison. You have got a lot to do, haven't you, Prime Minister?
Yes. We was devastated country, really. Now we try to renew completely. We passed through the first phase of judicial reforms. Now it's coming the second phase. It's a painful process, but it's huge. We are in the moment in the parliament with debate for free media law that will give more independence and free to the journalists, to the media. We are in front of the third stage of the reforms in security system, second stage in security in public administration. There is a lot of to do in our country, but as you mentioned it 1 year ago, we was a capture state by the old government. Now we are really shining factor in the Balkan.
Really?
We are very positive example for everybody.
You've got a lot to do. You can't undo 11 years of a system of patronage and so on just overnight. You've also got the fact that Macedonia is a major transit point for international drug traffickers, particularly heroin from Southwest Asia going into Europe. In December last year, there was synthetic drugs were seized from a laboratory in the west of your country. You've really got to tackle also this issue of drug trafficking, haven't you?
Crime and corruption is one of the first goals for our country. Also, in that matter, we are a good example in the last year. We catch a lot of illegal trading with humans, with drugs, with weapons, that kind of things. And we're continuing with support of our friends, that is western part of the world. We try to increase our capacity. We leave a space now for the non-government organizations, for civil society, to be part of these check and balances or these corrective institutions who will check the government, for example, like anti-corruption, anti-monopoly, anti-discriminatory institutions, or public audit office, that kind of institutions will be led by the experts.
The US ambassador to Macedonia, Jess Bailey, said in December last year, your pledges show you're moving in the right direction, but a pledge without action is just a piece of paper.
I agree.
You make all the right sounds, but are we seeing action on the ground?
We have a lot of results. It's not possible after 11 years, only for 1 year to show all necessary things to achieve what our citizens wait, but they are agree that we achieve a lot.
You're one of the poorest countries in Europe. You've got unemployment at 23%. You've got shocking statistics on health for children from UNICEF. Many of your brightest and best and young emigrate because they want to find a future elsewhere. Can you, Prime Minister, win over hearts and minds and say, look, there is a future, especially after we've, agreed the name change and so on, and I can achieve all my objectives, my ambitions?
Now, with this integration process, with this pleasant moment, integrated in NATO, negotiate with the European Union, we have a fair chance. We are very far away from political crisis, and we can be dedicated to the health system, to the education system, to open jobs for youth. Now the unemployment rate is 21%, was 34, 37 in the past. We decrease unemployment rate from youth, for example, from 41.6 till 35.2. For example, it's huge results. It motivates us to continuing in that direction. For example, after the agreement with Greece, an agreement and the announcement that we will be invited to be member of NATO, 7 companies, big companies, international companies, decide to invest in our country. So that is good message for our young people.
Zoran Zaev, thank you very much indeed for coming on Hard Talk.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.